Part one was pretty tough, but we continue on with part two, coaching and guiding strategies for facing our fears. We can do that. As a coach and advisor to people seeking answers and strategies, I often say with a smile to a number of inquiries, if I had all the right answers to all the big problems, you wouldn't be able to afford me, and I would be a billionaire. If any of us had the answers to all of the fears that we face, we would be world heroes and be very rich. Any wisdom we possess must be mixed with a large dose of humility. In dealing with many important issues such as fear, we simply don't have all the answers, not at all. But with increased understanding, we can find and have some of the answers. So, what we are all trying to do personally, and as a coach and in some way helping others do, is to live well. We all hope to live with less fear in our fearful world. From the wisdom of the ages, research, listening to others, and personal experience, I suggest the following strategies as a way of partially achieving this great goal. Remember, though, that these are not quid pro quo strategies. The first strategy is not a possible remedy for the first fear. In fact, such an idea is part of the present-day problems in our culture. We often hope that there can be the pill, the tool, the great idea that will make it all better and help us be okay. There is no cure for fear. But thinking, applying, and living in harmony with these 5 strategies will help us all begin to live differently. And in doing so, we will discover other strategies that we can use and perhaps can even create some that work just for us. The 5 strategies for reducing our fears are, first of all, having a deep sense of personal purpose. Confident in the profit you bring to others. Possessing personal poise. Possessing an attitude of praise. And believing the power of prayer. Purpose. Having clarity about our personal goals and life direction. Remember Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau's question that they would ask each other. Since we last met, what is clear to you now? This is still one of the best questions in the coaching experience. Clarity and awareness are vital. This insight is furthered and enhanced in the story Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's a classic book that should be read by everybody. Frankl, a Jewish psychiatrist, was caught up in the horrors of the Holocaust, and he survived. The wisdom that came from such an experience can be transforming. It was for Frankl. He can help us. Frankl states that when a life purpose can be discovered or even constructed, the will to live, to overcome, and to press on is greatly enhanced. If there is a positive why for whatever comes to us, it is easier to endure. Then the how to endure is more easily discovered. Yes, easier, but not easy. Life is never easy. Frankl goes on to proclaim that those whose lives have meaning, a why and a why with great clarity, have more power to face the fear and to endure. He found this great truth by observing people who went through the Holocaust. He found it true in his own experience. And now he brings these same ideas into our world and to our experience. Frankl does not believe that fear flies away in the face of a deep purpose, a why. But fear is more easily and more effectively put in its proper place if we have a deep clarity of goals, purpose, meaning, and life direction. I believe that God has put gifts and talents and ability on the inside of every one of us. When you develop that, and you believe in yourself, and you believe that you You are a person of influence and a person of purpose. I believe you can rise up out of any situation. Joel Osteen shared that. Thanks to him. The coaching experience takes this insight very seriously in the quest for clarity on life's purpose and direction. The client may dismiss such an inquiry as, oh, that's so much soft stuff for theology and philosophy, not related to their performance and their situation at hand. If they do so, they are betraying a deep ignorance of how life strategies work and how those life strategies can play a part in any fear-reducing way of living. Connected to this insight of Frankl is the need for all of us to seek to be one of the aforementioned 3%. The 3% is the much quoted and fairly well-established percentage of people in the general population who have a clear sense of their life direction and the vocation that matches it. These people write and think clearly about the long-term, 20 years and above, and short-term, 3 months to 5 years goals in their life and in their business. These 3%ers have a plan, a sense of accountability, and are taking action. The coaching experience seeks to help the client bring out these goals, not just for the sake of effective living, but also because they help reduce our fears. You see, if you're bored with life, you don't get up every morning with a burning desire to do things. You don't have enough goals. That's what Lou Holtz said. A mind full of high aspirations, goals, purpose, meaning, and direction is less likely to be a mind and heart full of fears. Profit. Having confidence in your personal worth and market value. Here, the strategy was defined by the description of the fear. Those who fear that they have no readily marketable and profitable value or contribution will be far more fearful of poverty, rejection, failure, and loss. The description contained the solution: learning more, gaining skills, knowing how to market yourself is the best way to gain the confidence necessary to overcome those fears, and in particular, the fear of having no contribution or no value. Here are some recommended ways to carry out this confidence-building strategy. Possess transferable skills. Obviously, the man or woman who only knows their present job description may find themselves out of work and full of fear. So in today's world, you need to be one of the best at what you do and then be able to transform and transfer the key and critical competencies that you possess into other areas. You may also need to seek other ways to express some of your gifts and abilities. Part of the coaching experience is helping clients discover and enhance their giftedness, as well as how these skills and abilities can be used in other professional and life arenas. A winner is someone who recognizes his God-given talents, works his tail off to develop them into skills, and uses these skills to accomplish his goals. Larry Bird said that. Fly away. Cultivate the power of persuasion. One of my clients resigned a significant leadership position due to changes in the organization. The loss in income was significant, but without a trace of fear in his voice or on his face, he said, "All my life, I've been able to sell ideas as well as sell things. I can move people to take action and leave them believe it was their idea. I know I will land up in a good place because I can sell." He was describing the supreme gift of confidence, the knowledge that you can speak to and influence others, Learning the art of persuasion and the ability to influence people is vital to our personal and our professional success. From ancient times, Aristotle believed that it was vital to success, to the success of democracy. In more recent times, the classic course book by Dale Carnegie on winning friends and influencing people describes the continuing modern day business reality. Because of this, I insist that all the clients in any coaching experience be put into exercises, challenges, and situations where they may seek to gain the skills and greater confidence to speak and perform in public, and to learn the basics of how to use the broadcasting media. Even if they never pursue those venues, the increased awareness and ability heightens their confidence and reduces their fear. The ability to persuade is a powerful fear-fighting skill. The shepherd always tries to persuade the sheep that their interests and his are the same. Stendhal pointed that out. Remember that there are no small parts to play in the world. In the world of drama, the proverb says there are no small parts, only small actors. I continually encounter people in our culture who believe that there are jobs that are beneath them or that they would be overqualified for such work. This entitlement mentality must be done away with in the minds and spirits of all. Any work, job, or position that another finds valuable is a worthy one. You hear this from time to time in pundits and others who talk about McJobs. They betray an arrogance, as if there is something wrong with people who accept and do menial jobs. These are the attitudes of small people. I remember a parking lot attendant who directed cars into the ramp with such verve, energy, and excitement that he made the customers smile and made a pocketful of good tips from the people who appreciated his value, his contribution. There's what I call a 4-H club summary. In many ways, the old 4-H club formula is a good summary, and the added component to being confident about your worth and value, your profit potential in the marketplace. Here they are. Head. Seek some unique information or intellectual skill or knowledge that you can market, even if you have no formal job. All right? Hands. Seek some manual, technical skill or competency that you know you can be valued and used by others. Help people understand and understand yourself that there is no such thing as menial work. All work and all service is ennobling. The old theater mantra that there are no small parts, only small players, is one of the keys to success. Again, I've always looked at my competencies before accepting any responsibility. Gentleman N.R. Narayana Murthy pointed that out. Then there's health. If one has the gift of good health, one can always make a contribution. I remember one senior citizen in good health who said, "Hey, if I ever need extra money, I'll be the best greeter Walmart ever had." Anyone in good health and with a willing heart will find some way of contributing. Heart. Heart is courage, but more than that, it represents persistence and willingness. The marketplace has a number of proven principles. It continually rewards people who persist and are willing to do whatever it takes to profit. Profit somebody else and thereby profit themselves. How about poise? Being graceful, organized, and effective. In one of the New Testament writings in the Christian scriptures, St. Paul wrote a letter to a group of followers that I often describe as a spiritual coaching experience. One scholar says that the admonition in the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 5, can be expressed as, let your personal poise be evident to all. The deliberate cultivation of personal poise as a fear-reducing strategy is effective and helpful. In the coaching experience, I describe poise as graceful, well-organized effectiveness. For our purposes, let us briefly examine those qualities and how they help us reduce our fears. The key to winning is poise under stress. Paul Brown, the great coach, said that. Graceful has a double meaning. In a deep and profound and spiritual and relational sense, it means full of grace. Graceful implies that others are inspired, encouraged, and helped by your presence and by your performance. Be graceful. In the other sense, graceful means that your posture, your pace, your clarity of speech, your personal appearance, dress, and persona are smooth, attractive, and calming. Every client in the coaching experience should be encouraged to find the style, the image, the way of performing in front of others that best suits him or her. In the old cowboy movies, one walked tall in the face of danger. Attention to posture, a quickened pace, combined with good grooming, makes you feel better, indeed, more powerful. The better you feel, the more powerful you feel, and the less fearful you will be. In many ways, I confess a deep personal prejudice. Our cultural emphasis on just be casual has some unintended consequences. Overly casual dress and appearance decreases personal poise and confidence. I often say, with a double meaning intended, sloppiness is scary. Being well organized in our personal habits and our personal organization helps us to be more effective, powerful, and profitable. I often refer to one's working space as his or her performing stage. It is well kept, and things are in place. There will be less useless frustrations and poor time management. Many messy types claim that they work better in a mess. Many people who procrastinate say they work better when they are up against a deadline and have to get it done. I often respond, how would you feel if your surgeon operated that way? There are exceptions, as everyone has unique abilities and eccentricities as to how they perform. Generally, personal habits and personal organization will heighten our personal poise. Messy can also be scary, and messy makes us all less effective. This leads to the third quality of personal poise, being effective. 20 years ago, Stephen Covey, in his best-selling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, pointed out and showed us that if we are well organized, our thinking, and in our personal habits and relationships, we will be more effective and perhaps even more efficient. He showed a way where we can not only change our ways, but also change our life in being more effective. His classic book is just one of a whole library of books, audios, and other resources on the subject of effectiveness that clients and coaches can work on if that is what is desired in the coaching experience. Effective leadership is not about making speeches or being liked. Leadership is defined by results, not necessarily attributes. Peter Drucker. Being well organized is a part of the poise factor. The cover of Mr. Covey's book could just as well have added the 7 habits of the least fearful and effective people. I am convinced that helping clients develop their poise in terms of being graceful, well organized, and effective will reduce their fear. Praise, having a spirit of ongoing, authentic gratitude. I remember it vividly. It was a program on the D-Day Normandy invasions. Part of the program included interviews with now aged veterans of those important battles. In one interview, a gentle and soft-spoken vet told how a German soldier had ambushed him during one of the battles and had the drop on him. He waited to be killed, but for some reason, the German turned away and let the then 19-year-old soldier boy live. The man continued by saying, "From that day on, I knew I was living in grace on borrowed times. I should be dead. So for the rest of my life, I've been able to live and not get too upset or worried about things because I was grateful to just be alive." That simple but moving story summarizes this strategy. People who view themselves as victims and as unfairly treated are seldom happy and often fearful. A friend of mine was facing the possible diagnosis of a difficult and disabling disease. But he said, "I must remember that everything that comes my way is a gift. It's a gift that I can use." He was seeking the proverbial attitude of gratitude as a way of confronting and overcoming the fear of the disease. I call this the praise factor. When we can praise God, others, and even ourselves in whatever situation we face, there will be less fear. I often remind clients, colleagues, and most of all myself that a thankful and grateful heart is seldom a fearful heart. It is a part of living by faith. "Praise the bridge that carried you over," George Coleman said. Yeah. And now prayer, having faith in something else. The debate is not to be settled here over whether we live in a grace-graced and guided universe where ultimately goodness and judgment will be the order of all things, or whether we live in an accidental, evolutionary, random universe where there is no transcendence or purpose, design, or ultimate virtue behind what we can create ourselves. We're not going to solve that here. Both coach and client will have different opinions and different doubts about either position. In most cases, such a discussion is not necessarily relevant to the performance coaching experience at hand. But there may be times of stress and fear where the prayer factor is relevant. My own position is that of the philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. He claims that we are not human beings that may have a spiritual experience, but that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Also, I have sympathy with the belief that prayer does indeed change things, usually us. In my deepest, darkest moments, what really got me through was a prayer. Sometimes my prayer was, "Help! Help me!" Sometimes the prayer was, "Thank you." What I've discovered is that ultimate connection and communication with my Creator will always get me through because I know my support, my help is just a prayer away. So said Lajanya Van Zandt. Do people of faith have less fear than people of no faith? Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But for many people of faith, their faith is part of the spiritual voice they hear that says, "Don't be afraid." It is a voice that calms their fears. Faith is one of the strategies in the coaching experience that can help coach and client live with less fear in a fearful world. A fearful world. The final word on living with less fear is that there is no final word. As I write this final paragraph and say it to you, I'm surrounded by good things and good health. on a beautiful day. All that good chance in a moment could change in a moment, and deep fear could grip my heart and seize my soul. I live in deep appreciation and gratitude for the present moment. No one speaks the final word on fear. We all have words of truth based on our own experience and the wisdom of the ages. This brief and passing essay and program is merely a guide, an attempt to help us all clarify our thinking and understanding about fear. We do so in the great hope that we can reduce our fears. Even though we have fear, we do not have to become our fears. We do this because we know that indeed fear kills everything, and we don't want it to kill us and to kill the ones we love. I hope this has been helpful to you. Listen to it a number of times. Share it with others. And perhaps we can realize that when people are less afraid and less fearful, there's oftentimes less anger and violence in a world that's full of people who are not afraid. That's why time and time again we are told in ancient wisdom, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. And I wish that blessing on you today. And this is obviously a significant part of the coaching experience. Thank you.
Please reach out to me, Stan Houston, at stan@witradio.net. Witradio.net is our website, and 520-664-7002 USA.